for the masses.
Headline edition, July 8, 1947. The Army Air Forces has announced that a flying disc has been found and is now in the possession of the Army.
If the game is rigged, change the game. Game changer.
I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
This is Fade to Black with your host, Jimmy Church, on the Game Changer Radio Network.
Well. Good evening. Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Today is Tuesday. That's right. It's Tuesday. Did you know that? Tuesday, October 24th, 2023. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. I'm very excited. I had a great day today, and I get to cap it off tonight with my good friend Ruben Uriarte is with us. And tonight we're going to talk UFOs all night long, front to back, hither and thither, to and fro, back and forth. Remember those days? Sure you do. Yeah. So that's what we're doing tonight. And I had a great day today. A friend of mine, Katie Norris, I'll just put that out there, came by the house. We had lunch. We hung out, had a little window, and boom, she came over, and I was on, screw it. I don't care about NDAs, I was on Randall Carlson's podcast this morning. That was at 11. I left the front door unlocked, and a little sign on the door, Katie, come on in and, go through the drawers and the cabinets and poke around, and I'll be out when I'm done. And so she gets here, I wrap that, and then I get to hang out with Katie. Then she watched me do the news live. I've never had that. I've had producers in the room and things like that, but to have, a friend, oh man, that was awesome. So go back and watch the news, and just remember, Katie's just sitting, right next to me, taking pictures and doing the thing. I felt like somebody, in the zoo. But anyway, so we did that. Then we went out to lunch. And that was absolutely amazing. And then rolling into the show tonight, I'm in a great mood. And I got Ruben here. And what else is next? Oh, get yourself some T-shirts. Oh, okay. And one other thing. I hope Dave Scott is listening. So Dave Scott, love Dave Scott. He's a great radio host, and I love everything that he does. Anyway, he sends me this message today. Hey, man, how you holding up with all of this world travel? And he's saying that in jest, but not really. And he probably sees my tired eyes. But anyway, I replied back, I'll let you know in December when the rest of this year is done, because we still have Las Vegas. We've got the Luxor Hotel coming up. It is November 10th, 11th, and 12th at the Luxor Hotel in Las Vegas, Nevada. Now, it seems to me that everybody knows about this conference. It's a big conference, and we've been doing a lot of marketing for sure. But I'm still getting questions from people. Do you have something going on in Las Vegas? Like, how could you not know? Do you have social media, the advertisements, the commercials? Have you listened to my show? And so forth. So, yes, I'm going to remind everybody. It's coming up in 2 weeks, November 10th, 11th, and 12th at the Luxor Hotel. You can go to disclosurefest.org. The links are below. Look at that schedule. Look at that list of speakers. We have 60 speakers. We have Terry Fader is going to be there. Terry Fader. I can't believe it. And go look at the speaker list. Terry Fader's pictures right there. Terry Fader's going to be there. We've got a couple of other surprise celebrity guests that are going to be there. Can't advertise them. There's reasons for that. But it's going to be one of those situations where, and watching Robert Clotworthy's commercial that he cut for us, it's really true. You're going to regret it. because you're going to hear about it later. So get your tickets. I've got a discount code for you, promo code. All of the links are below. So go and get your tickets, and I'll see you in Las Vegas at the Luxor Hotel for Stairway to the Stars. All right? All right. Let's see. What else? Get your T-shirts. Links are below. 2 T-shirts, 2 ways to get them. You remember Chuck Woolery? Remember Chuck Woolery? He's still around, I'm sure. Chuck Woolery. He had a show called The Love Connection. Yeah, The Love Connection. And he would always say, he was great. We'll be right back in 2 and 2. We'll be right back. And so that's my Chuck Woolery right there. All right, let's get this show cracking tonight. Ruben Uriarte is with us. And now tonight we're going to be doing all UFOs all night long. UFOs, some call them UAPs. I think UAP is going to go bye-bye. We're going to stick with UFOs. We're going to talk about the congressional hearings. We're going to talk about Mexico and other countries. We're going to talk about similar cases where witnesses from each event got lost and sought refuge in a tree for safety and later experienced a close encounter of the third kind. We're going to be doing all of that and much more, scientific teams and studying and animals and plant species with various instruments. We're going to be doing all of that tonight. He graduated from Cal State University at Hayward, East Bay, with a BA degree in psychology and Latin American studies. He's a member of MUFON as a field investigator, state MUFON director for Northern California, and deputy national MUFON director for Mexico. He has served as a California state coordinator for Crop Circle Phenomena Research International and currently serves as a board member for OPUS, the Organization for Paranormal and Support Understanding. He has been everywhere. He's been on local and national radio, TV. He's written his books, of course. You know, my favorite with No Torres. We'll be talking about that too as well. That's enough about Ruben. Let's just bring this guy on and say, Ruben, what is up, my man? How you doing?
I'm doing good there, Jimmy. It's been a while since you had me on the show, but it's been amazing.
I'm gonna jump in right there and say I don't remember exactly where it was, but that part doesn't matter. I watched you give your presentation on your book with No Torres. And I sat in the back for the entire presentation. And I remember, like crossing my arms going, that's a presentation. That right there, that's how you get it done. And it's a combination of research and knowing how to speak to people and get the information out. And I have just been a fan of yours ever since. So, that's
thank
it.
You, Jimmy.
Okay, well, fanboy stuff is over though. The rest of the night we're going to get serious. We're going to be real serious. Let's back up for a second. One of the things that I'd like to talk about is our community, and those that are in the community are here because of a personal experience, right?
Yes.
It's a personal situation that allows them to get out of their comfort zone and go and get answers and meet people. And you could stay at home, you could do nothing, of course, and many do. But those that are in our community are here for very, very personal reasons, and it's part of their journey. Did you have a contact experience that brought you here?
Absolutely. My story is probably similar to many other people, and my first sighting was when I was a young kid. I think I was about 8. I lived in Oakland, and I was playing with my friends in a schoolyard. And I remember one of my friends pointing straight up in the sky and said, "Hey, look, a flying saucer!" And that caught me by surprise. And I went where he was pointing at, and I didn't see it, but I could feel like there was something that went over us. And so, just a few days prior to that, I was also in that school ground, and I saw this strange balloon. I thought, that's strange. How come that balloon's not moving? It was just stuck there up in the right-hand corner of the sky, and I began thinking, maybe it's a blimp. Back then, there were, when I was growing up, I didn't live too far from the Naval Air Station. They used to have blimps, and they're huge, but they would fly over, and I thought, well, maybe that's the front end of a blimp coming. No, it just stayed there. Then I got this strange, overwhelming feeling like I was really being watched. So when I connected that experience to my friend pointing up in the sky, look, a flying saucer, I thought, there's something going on here in the back of my mind. And then I had an interest in science and science fiction and all that over the years. And later I got more into reading about UFOs. And one thing I remember is I went to a MUFON meeting, Jimmy, and yeah, I heard the state director talking about the crop circles and cattle mutilations, and this was all new stuff to me. And never would I have dreamed that I would be there where he's at, um, and me talking about the very same subjects. And it's just interesting how life is, and you put yourselves in someone else's shoes. So for those people that are listening to me, maybe I like to say, hey, just for a moment, put your feet into my shoes and see maybe that if it resonates with you.
How do one doesn't just show up at a MUFON meeting. Okay, there are better things to do with your time. And so you've got to look it up. You've got to find the location. And back then, I know you and I are about the same age. So back then when you did this, we didn't even have electricity. So how did you find MUFON and why?
Well, what was interesting was in the newspaper, I read there was a critique about two books, Missing Time by Bud Hopkins and Communion by Whitley Strieber. And I thought, that's interesting, And at that time, I got married, and my wife and I went on a honeymoon, and we went to New Mexico. And on our way back, I saw the books in the bookstore, but for some reason I avoided it. I thought I was real curious, but I didn't want to go and pick up the book. Well, then later I went to the Safeway shopping center and went into the market. I'm standing in line, and right next to me were all these books on communion, Whitley Strieber, and I reached it and grabbed the book, and then I heard people in the background saying, "Oh, they say that they're real, and that's what they look like." I was hearing all the comments behind me, so I bought the book, and Whitley referenced MUFON, and then later I was able to get Bud Hopkins' book that referenced MUFON. So I checked around, and I found out that there was a MUFON meeting going on in across the bay. So I went to that and interacted with other people, and I tell you, I felt like I was among family.
Yeah, for sure.
There.
Yeah. I did the same thing. My first MUFON meeting, man, I've told the story 50 times, and I apologize to those that have, but it's worth repeating. I walked into my first MUFON meeting down here in Los Angeles, Steve Murillo, our good friend and everything. Yeah, Steve's the best. And so I walk in, and I don't know anybody, and nobody knows me. It was that long ago, right? So I walk in, I'm invisible, and I'm listening. Ruben, you're going to laugh, but it's really true. I'm listening to these conversations that are happening around me. I've got somebody over here going, yeah, man. So, did you hear the story about so and so and the abduction? And I'm listening to that. And then somebody over here, man, I had this crazy sighting last night, and we were out in the backyard, and this thing shot across the sky. And somebody over here is, they have a. I'm like, I'm home, right?
Yeah.
Like you can do this out in the open, and nobody's gonna laugh. These are my people. Hello, I've arrived. And that's the feeling that you get. I loved it. And I couldn't get enough of it. I would have never dreamed in a million years that I would be speaking there, one day, just what you just said. But yeah, my first MUFON meeting, I'll never forget it. And to this day, I'm still friends with everybody there. It is family for sure. It's such a great feeling. And I want to reiterate what you said. If you have a feeling, if you've seen, if there's just some weirdness, and you are wondering, reach out to somebody, go to a MUFON meeting, look at the different people that you can reach out to and talk to and go and hang out, because keeping it inside and wondering about it isn't going to do you or anybody else any good. Go to a MUFON meeting.
Exactly.
Come and hang out, and come to one of our conferences. It could be a MUFON conference or any other conference around the country. Go and hang out with some like-minded people and feel comfortable and go and talk and listen. It's the best thing you can do, right?
Exactly. Yeah, it was back then. I just felt I was so open to listening to what people were experiencing, and then hearing about names of the latest researchers and more about the abduction scenario, and then crop circles and that. And and I just had this craving. I wanted to learn a little bit more. Sorry about that. My cat is trying to get in the way there. Um, so anyway, I I've been with MUFON now close to 33 years.
Right.
That's been a long haul, and I've seen very many changes. But it also has allowed me to expand and get a. Uh, let me put my cat down. I'm sorry.
Oh man, your cat can hang out with us, man.
Oh, okay. Come on, kitty. His name is Spooky.
Yeah, he looks spooky.
Yeah,
looks
he likes it when he wants attention. That's what he
yeah,
wants.
yeah.
But here he comes. Say hi to all the hated black fans. And he's black. Black kitty.
I love it. I love it. I do love it. Between the sighting when you were 8 and seeing Bud Hopkins and seeing Missing Time and Communion. By the way, that was definitely before electricity. And between those two events, did you have other sightings or contact experiences?
Yeah, what I felt very uncomfortable reading the book Communion. There was something there that just it just bothered me. And it wasn't until later I started to think, well, maybe I did have a contact experience, because I shared with you that I had this feeling of being watched, and especially when looking at that object. So when that occurred, all it did was it made me wanting to know more. I wanted to learn more, talk to more people, as you mentioned, more networking. And I would say that the other major sighting that I had was really, really cool, because this was right in front of my face. I need to back up. I had I remember I was going through a lot of oh, depression at that time. I was going through a divorce and then dealing with work. It was just a lot of stuff going on with me. And then I began thinking, well, what am I going to do? And then all of a sudden, I heard this voice. I swear to God, I heard this voice saying, "You're going to England." And for a moment there, I said, "England? What's in England?" And then, pow! It just hit me. Crop circles. And then I thought, "Oh wait, maybe that would be something good for me to do. So what I did, Jimmy, was like I got on the phone and talked to a friend, and she said, "Hey, there's a tour group that will take you out to crop circles." And so I inquired, and there's a lot of synchronicity in this whole thing. But to make a long story short, I called up and found out through this lady named Joyce Murphy, who later became her and her husband became very good friends of mine. Were putting on these tours to UFO hotspots, and I thought, man, that's pretty cool. And so I didn't have any money, but then I thought, well, I'll just take out a loan out of the credit union. So I financed that my way, and then I had to go to buy a camera because I needed one, and I go to a camera shop, and the guy said, "Well, what are you going to do with your camera?" I says, "Well, I want to take pictures of crop circles." Man, his eyes lit up. He gave me tons of film, gave me a great deal on a camera, and loaned me a pair of binoculars for my trip. So anyway, I got hooked up with the tour group called Beyond Boundaries, and went to England and met with the people that was in our tour. And what I love about doing tours, and I'm sure you can relate to this, Jimmy, is that you get to meet the researchers out there on the field. What they actually do, and you're right in their environment. And it was really cool for me to learn, being in England for the first time. Although I've gone to England now and Scotland, probably I went in 7 years in a row, all on crop circle research. But what happened was that one evening, we were in a restaurant, and then someone came and said, "Hey, there's this crop circle. We just found it. You got to come and see it." Da da da. So we immediately left. And by the way, that's where I met George Knapp. I met George Knapp on that particular tour. He was doing a documentary, and he was also there in the crop circle field. But anyway, we went there, and sure enough, we see this crop circle that looks like the CBSI. I mean, big one, beautiful. And so I went up this hill by myself, and I put it out there, Jimmy. I said, "Hey, if you read my thoughts, and should you appear, do so because you want to. But if you don't want to, that's okay with me. But should you appear, I thank you." Just pretty much, I put it out there like that. So I'm walking. So I turned around. I started to walk down the hill, and boom, this ball of light came right up. And I thought, "Holy cow!" And I grabbed those binoculars that were loaned to me, and I looked at that light, and it was like flat in the bottom and had an amber-shaped dome to it. And I thought, "That's odd." And then the light descended. It went back down, and then I got on I had a whistle, and I started blowing it to bring everyone else's attention. So then I said, "Man, I wish this light, or I wish they could reappear so my friends could see them." And sure enough, boom, 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 3 lights came right up, and it started to form like a triangle. And I'm looking at these lights, and I'm looking at them through the binoculars, and they're flat at the bottom, like with the dome, and like a dome shape, amber, bright, like an orange golden color. I can still see it right now as we talk. So one of the guys that was with our team was a professional photographer, and he grabbed his camcorder and he started to aim it right at the lights. And something told me they're not going to allow themselves to be filmed. So as soon as he raised his camera and pointed right at them, right at the lights, blip, 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 they disappeared. So they disappeared, and we were like, "Whoa, what happened here?" And it so happened that in the area that we were in was known as Golden Ball Hill.
Oh, really?
And yeah, it was a lot of that area there in England has a lot of historical sites. that go way back for hundreds of years, and that. Well, it just so happened that where those lights were at, not too far away, was another new formation that appeared, and it looked like a galaxy. I swear to God, it's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. Just the swirls and everything. Um, and we went to that, and when I started walking on in that formation, Jimmy, it felt like I was walking on a carpet. It was just.
Did you
You know,
feel, did you, that includes, you're there looking at various sites. Did you feel an energy change as you entered into the crop circle? What was that like?
absolutely. Oh, I had this on a couple occasions, as I mentioned. I've been in 7 years in a row,
Right.
walking in these formations. And the good thing is, I collected the wheat from each of the formations as oh, a scrapbook. I have the pictures, and I have the pictures of the wheat, and then I did that for each of the years that I traveled. But what was really interesting was the feelings that I would have, because I never walk around barefooted around here, where I live. I'm always really careful where I walk. Over there, I take off my shoes, I walk barefooted, and
Man.
man, I tell you, I was feeling, I could feel the energy. Um, I was feeling dehydrated, disorientated, and then I would feel all this overwhelming joy, and then I would find a little spot there in the formation, and I would just kneel down or squat down, and then I would just start meditating. And I met a lot of interesting people that way, that use these. The formation attracted people from all over the world, so it was like an international gathering. It's almost like having a conference, and you're getting all these folks coming in. And also, I saw the interesting phenomena where people would walk in with cameras, and their cameras wouldn't work, or their anything that's electrical, mechanical, just didn't seem to work until they walked outside of the formation. And I remember we were with a group of dowsers, and I couldn't believe how those, they point the rods, and they're walking down the trail, and then as soon as you get right up to the edge of the formation, like my cat here,
Mhm.
then all of a sudden the rods would point like and form a cross right at the edge of the formation, and then when they start walking back, they would just splay, and it would go back to the original position that the person was holding the rods. And then I remember this was really cool. 1996, there was a formation called the Juliet, and what that is, it's a fractal geometry. These things have sacred geometry and a lot of mathematical meanings to these formations, and they also have themes. The theme that I went one would be insects, the other would be galaxies, the other would be more of a hodgepodge of different crop circles from different years. But the one thing that I remember was when I walked into the triple spiral Julia. Those were like three arms into a spiral, and I think each arm had about 90 crop circles in it.
Yeah, I
Uh,
remember that's one of my favorite formations too as well. And I was always attracted to it. First off, friggin' beautiful,
yeah,
right? I mean, just beautiful. But here's the second thought. Every time I look at images of that, is how? How? Just somebody to I can tell you what didn't happen. Humans didn't make it. Now I don't know what else is involved. I don't. I don't have answers for the phenomena. But I can
yeah,
tell you it wasn't a couple of dudes named frickin' Frack with 2x4s tied to their feet. It's
yeah.
it's it's geometrically and mathematically perfect and complex. It's bizarre.
Complex.
Yeah.
Totally. What I wanted to share with you was that in one of those arms, I had a bad stomach ache, so I decided to lay flat in one of the circles, and I laid there, and I tell you that my pain went away. And there was one guy that was in our circle. Um, he was very ill himself. He was dealing with an illness. And when I saw him in the formation, man, he looked like a whole other person. He was laughing, and it was just a totally different person. And it wasn't until he left the circle he went back to the sick mode. But one of the things that I did was I walked in one of the arms and walked into each of the circles all the way up to the very tip.
Right.
And there were three other people at that very end of the tip. And I walk in, and I asked them, what's her thoughts, and then we said, well, what brought us here? Why at this particular circle with all of us? And then we realized each of us we practice a form of Reiki energy, healing energy. And then it hit us like, this is what the crop circles are trying to tell us, is that perhaps, just perhaps, we need to take better care of our planet, to heal our planet. And that's been pretty much a theme that personally I have encountered, but also hearing from other colleagues and that have had the experience of going into the crop circle formations. But Mhm.
Okay, so I'm trying to let's see here. I may come and go for a second. And I don't know if you can hear me. Yeah, you can see my video is freezing. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Yes.
Okay. We'll see if I can unfreeze the video. But in the meantime, I'm not doing anything. My hands are here in the air. And okay, so it's back and it's still frozen. So yeah, it's irritating to me. And I don't know if the audience is seeing me freeze or if I am.
It must be crop circle energy there.
Yeah, it's what do you make of the UFO connection with this? Do you think it is ET, or is it something else?
Well, that's always been a very interesting question, Jimmy. Talking with other researchers, they would say, well, why would they spend all that time working on creating these patterns, especially in the wheat fields with all the intricacy that to make these things, and yet there's been sightings of UFOs over the wheat fields. Some people, I remember one of my friends saying there that the energy is a combination of vibration, frequency, heat that causes the wheat to possibly bend without breaking, and then you have those explosions at the nodes. It's been such an interesting phenomena to study, and it's still going on. The only thing I was thinking today, I haven't heard too much about the crop circles here in the United States. I found the formations in the U.S. also very complex, and in some cases a little more unique, because these formations would be found in isolated places. And I kept thinking, why would someone spend all that time developing or forming a crop circle in a place that's like out in the ranches or farmlands way out there? And sure enough, the reports would come in from pilots that would fly over, and then they would report seeing the strange formation in a wheat field, not far away at some distance.
Yeah, and Ruben, I'm starting to get warnings about the internet, and it's popping up in front of me, and I'm watching things. Yeah, I'm watching my screen go gray right now, like everything is about to drop out. So if it does,
you could have me come back. Can you hear me?
I am back. Okay, yeah. See, now it seems to be running fine, and that was definitely strange. Okay, yeah. I watched every. There was something going on externally out there. It was like, and I watched my whole screen. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The other part with that, the reason why I just don't feel that it's human is I picture if I get a group of people, group of friends, the most skilled, intelligent, friends that I have, and we map out and draw like the craziest Fibonacci crop circle, right?
Right.
And it's going to have 100 individual circles on the inside of it, and it's going to now this is it, some crazy geometric thing, and then you're going to go out and scale that up in the dark, recreate and it is going to be divine and perfect, right? That group of people doesn't exist. And so, but let's say we did get it done, you would get caught. That's it. Somebody would videotape, you would get caught. Nobody's ever been caught doing this except for, frickin' Frack, who said that, and I forget those two guys' names. That was so funny. You remember the video? We had a board with a rope.
Yes.
And I was like, you guys never made a crop circle. And that's the problem that I have with it. Now, the skeptics, I'm with the skeptics. It's just too far out there to understand. But it kind of just goes down to physics, where everything is probable. It's probabilities. Everything is possible, and anything can happen. So I just don't know what's causing it or how it's getting done.
Jimmy, we did an experiment. We had 5 men and 5 women, and by the way, we didn't plan it. It just worked out that way, 5 and 5. So we got in a circle, and we meditated. It was at night, and about 2 days later, there was a formation of a star, a 5-pointed star, overlaid with another 5-pointed star. So you had 10 points.
Mm-hmm.
And that was really, really amazing. I mean, the fact that here we were, and I've heard this from other people, other groups that have done it, where they meditate or project a certain formation. And one of my very good friends, I remember him, Colin Andrews.
Yeah, he's great.
Yeah, he pointed that out. He's had that experience, and a number of other people. But the fact that you can put it out there, and that's what going back to my sighting of that ambered object, is that they heard it. I felt like I was at Close Encounter of the Fifth Kind, the telepathic connection there, and sure enough, I always felt like they listened to me. Why, I don't know, but the fact that I put it out there, and then boom, 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 there they are. And that was my going back to that was my first expedition, going to the crop circles. And as I mentioned, I've been to 7 of them, but that was the one that had the most profound experience, was my first one. And the fact
you remember the one, I just interrupted you, Ruben, I apologize. But the one with the DNA, right, and the binary information that was next to one of the largest radar scanning towers in the UK, and it's right next to it in the field, a defense, I think it's RAF, defense installation there, military installation, and nobody got caught. Right. And that it's still to this day is one of the craziest crop circles ever. but it's not like everything is always remote, some wheat field in the middle of nowhere, which but even then you would think that the farmer would be pretty pissed, right? You're ruining his
Yeah.
crop. And somebody would get shot at the very least, but nobody has ever gotten caught over all of these years. So and there's one other part. No disgruntled boyfriend or girlfriend ratted out the other. Right. Okay, it's these guys over here. They've been making the crop circles. Why are you talking? Because he broke up with me, or whatever it is. Right? Somebody, just ratting out the group or getting caught, but nobody has. It's really strange.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, that was such an interesting experience for me. And I had another wish that came true. The people that owned the tour company, they came up to me and they said, "Hey, Ruben, how would you like to work for us? You can go on these expeditions. We'll pay for your time if you're." And, that to me, I was so grateful, but the fact that I would have a chance to travel and it would not be out of my expense per se, everything would be taken care of as long as
Sign me up. Sign me up. Jessica
man.
just said, this is excellent. She said, crop circles are definitely a form of communication that we have yet to understand it fully. I totally agree with that. I totally agree. What do you think?
Oh, I definitely there is that communication. I think it impacts you internally. I would say there was something that also I kept pondering. It's like those designs, those figures. It's like I've seen them before. It's just like it really connects with your DNA. Um, then on the other hand, you either look at it as art, and I've seen some of the ones just recent, and I kept thinking, how in the heck do they do it? Even if they were made, I mean, just the fact that just the thought process that's involved.
Well, and if okay, so it's man-made. Somebody needs to step up because you are an artiste, right? You got Michelangelo, right? You've got all those Greek statues. You could be that person. It's these are works of art, and they're so perfect. They're so geometrically. I was on Randall Carlson's podcast earlier today, and his whole thing. Well, he's a lot of things, but a big part of what he does is sacred geometry. And you look at these crop circles, and that's exactly what's going on. So you have the mathematic, right? You have the math, you have the beauty of it, you have the artistic side, and then you have a message, and it's all wrapped up into one. And they are made without mistakes.
Yeah.
Right? It's and there's no footprints, nothing connecting it.
Yeah.
You would think tire tracks, how did they get out? All of that stuff comes into play. I don't know. It's a pretty good mystery to me.
Are you familiar with the Serpent Mound here in Ohio?
Oh, of course.
There was a crop circle that was that they discovered right next to the Serpent Mound, and what was really unique was that the plant. I forgot what the name of the plant, but if you were to touch it, or it's very brittle, it would break. But the formation was created with half of the plant standing, and then it bent over and it formed a swirl. Very beautiful formation. How in the heck can someone fake that? I mean, if you're going to go out there, you're going to see the evidence. You're going to see broken stalks and this and that. But the fact that this was right next to a sacred site, and that's part of that whole connection, is that these formations are connected to sacred sites, like I mentioned in England.
Yeah,
as
yeah,
well as Native American ground. So here in the United States,
you know what they lack? This is why I don't think they're human. You know what they lack? No cigarette butts,
yeah,
beer cans, a Twinkies wrapper, right? Something's a McDonald's bag, something, nothing, right? There's no human trace evidence, left behind. That's I don't know. I don't know.
yeah.
And then the other part when and I've seen the videos and I've played some here on Fade to Black, and I've talked to a couple of people that have shot videos of the formations, lights above a field, and then the next day there's a crop circle formation there, and I see that, and I don't necessarily have to go ET. Could be some kind of plasma energy, some
Right.
kind of electromagnetic formation. It could be a spirit, some kind of entity, energy. It could be that. It could be of the earth, right?
Yes.
What if it's just simply a formation that is natural, especially when you get into the Fibonacci side of things.
Exactly.
Yeah, I don't necessarily have to go ET, but I'm definitely going non-human.
We went into a formation, and we went in the middle of night. We went at night. We had a camp out, and the formation was like a torus wheel. It's like a donut, and it has all these spirals, like spooky. Okay, so we were in the middle of the torus, and one of my friends brought this really cool Native American flute music, and that was just absolutely very beautiful. Just being in a crop circle and then hearing all the Native American flute music, and then while this was going on, a friend of ours was setting up all this high tech equipment, and she couldn't get it to work. And yet, what was fortunate for us was we were at least were able to get the music. But that was just one of those common things that seemed to be consistent. And then, so I think with me and with all these other folks, I think crop circles, it's a very personal thing too. And you could go there and do your scientific, which we did. Oh, and one of the things I love doing was flying. I would charter a small plane to take me over, or a helicopter, especially a helicopter, and that way you get a full view and the feeling of what you're looking at, the enormity and the complexity of these formations while you're flying. So I made it a point every year that I would fly, and I caught some really cool aerial shots. I'm not a professional photographer or whatever. I mean, there's some people that do a living and do fantastic work, but the fact that I could said, "Oh, I remember that. I remember I was able to fly that day. I went with these friends, and I was able to capture the phenomena."
I was in Egypt last week. I just got back, and
Mm.
one of the I'm not going to talk about Egypt, but I am going to talk about flying. So we're down in we're watching we're in the Great Sphinx in the chamber right between the paws, and the sun is rising in the east, and the orientation, that's why it was built that way. It's looking, and pretty amazing vibe to watch the sun just crack and then slowly
Wow.
rise and light up, and we're all meditating and kumbaya and oming and all that stuff. It was amazing, right? But that's not what was cool. You know what was cool? So I'm standing there. It's cool, crisp morning there on the Giza Plateau. The sun is rising, and I'm standing in front of the Sphinx, and I hear this. I'm like, what is that? just kind of walk off by myself, and I'm looking around, and I hear this buzzing sound low. I'm looking, and Khafre's right there, right? It's right behind the Great Sphinx. And I'm looking, and this ultralight,
Oh yeah.
yeah, comes from behind Khafre and makes this turn, and it was orange. Can we turn off your phone?
It says my landline there. Sorry, it'll turn off in a second here.
Okay. Anyway, so and he buzzes, and he's coming, and he's low. He's low. He's halfway up from the pyramid. So he's a couple of 100 feet in the air. He's making this turn. He flies over us, comes back, and you can see him looking down.
Yeah.
And then turns around, and he flew over Giza for, man, I don't know, an hour, just doing figure eights and loops and going in between the pyramids and over that plateau. And I thought to myself, he's doing it right. Can you imagine the up close and personal take on things like you in the helicopter above the crop circles, where he's seeing it like that from the air, and it must have been incredible. So when I go back to Egypt, and it's going to be in a few months, I am booking an ultralight.
Oh, I flew in an ultralight over crop circles, and that was really a lot more different than flying in a helicopter, because all you're doing, I mean, you just have these little metal bars keeping you up, and then you can look down between your feet and see the land there. But they're very maneuverable, but it can be very bumpy too. And I got a little frightened, with the bumps that were hidden. But it was phenomenal, the view of the crop circles in an ultralight. Yeah, go for it, Jimmy. Yeah, that will be one.
I want to buy one. You don't even need a pilot's license, right? You don't. If they don't go over 5,000 feet, you don't need a pilot's license.
Yeah, I don't know what the.
Yeah, I don't think you do. What you need is a credit card. That's your certification. But I'm kind of intrigued with the idea. And man, just launch that thing in your front yard. You don't need a runway. Now let's get back to the UFOs for a second. But anyway, yeah, it was crazy. This guy just over the Giza Plateau for an hour, and he was having the best time ever. It was really, really cool. What did you make of? And we'll pick this up when we come back after the break in a few minutes. You've been at this for 35 years. And you have OPUS, and you have MUFON, and all of the groups and organizations and the meetings and the books, and all of your research that you've been doing. Did you ever see a day coming that we would start having hearings in Congress and Fox and CNN and the New York Times? And did you see this coming ever?
No, I like a lot of folks, we thought particularly that something may be coming down the road, but in small little segments, in sightings here or this important. It's amazing how quickly and how fast, and people from the intelligence community coming out and sharing their participation with what their involvement was with the phenomenon, and of course the military. So it's been definitely an eye opener. There's more coming. That's what I feel. Whether or not the actual factual information will come out directly out from Congress or whatever, I still think that there's plenty room in the phenomenon for everybody, and I think that if you don't have to be a super hot investigator or whatever. If there's an interest that you have, get involved. Go to the conferences, talk to people, be a part of that community.
What about is MUFON in Washington now?
Yes, it is.
Right?
Actually, it is. Dave McDonald, our international director, shared with us at the symposium that he has been meeting. He's had a number of meetings with various members of the Congress, providing statistics, also providing what questions to ask. At that time. So there's been a lot of interesting support in the background with MUFON that Dave McDonald. It'd be interesting, maybe if you may consider inviting him to one of your future radio shows, that he could share where things are in perspective, but also
I should reach out. I should reach out to Dave. I used to have Jan on all the time, and and obviously that has ended. But I know that Dave, came in at a very, very crucial time and stepped in and has been very effective. And for Dave, you know what though? Dave kind of caught it at a good time too. He got it pretty fun times right now. If you're gonna, take over as international director of MUFON, you'd want to do it now.
Exactly.
There's a lot of action going on, and there's another piece to this though. MUFON is sitting on a lot of information. And I would think that it would be in the best interest. Well, one, you have MUFON as a consultant. I totally get that. I totally do. But I think MUFON some of the files should be presented in an official capacity, right? So if you're going to go in front of the Senate or the House, Fravor and Grush, and Ryan Graves, great, right? But that's not all that is out there.
Right.
There's a civilian component, and eyewitness component, and data and scientific collection component that MUFON can provide. And I would think that would be first on everybody's mind. And not even MUFON is the end of everything, but at least MUFON has got stuff collected and in one place, and they've done the due diligence of vetting and collecting scientific data, right? I mean,
Exactly.
they should be witnesses.
Yeah, something I've been wanting to say to you, just going back to the crop circle theme, and then we can go and definitely discuss the other big international picture themes that's going on. But I was just wondering if you were to have some crop circle emblem motifs or pictures or whatever on your guitars. I was just wondering whether by having these emblems, designs on your guitar, whether that may make a difference, or not, maybe it might be an interesting. I noticed you have some beautiful guitars in the background.
Okay, so you ready for this?
All right.
Check this out. I gotta go to the other side of the room. This is a very cool guitar. This is an acoustic Stratocaster. Okay, got a hole in it. You see it?
Yes.
Right? Fender. Right? See that? Fender. It says Fender on there somewhere. You ready? But that's not what makes it cool. That makes it cool. That is wood. It's a wooden alien head on the front of a wooden guitar.
Oh, cool.
And you can't see the wood grain. Let me see. Put it up.
Yeah, I see it. Beautiful.
That's wood. How cool is that?
That is cool. Yeah, we're thinking along the same lines. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a one of a kind right here. And it's they do have meaning. Oh, okay. Hold on. Let me pull. Man, hold on. Check this out. This is my spaceship guitar.
Oh, nice.
Right? But this is my
aliens
Aliens built Earth.
Nice.
And so I love this stuff. And part of I've got others, things, like this around the house, but instruments are personal.
Right.
And I like it when somebody wants to personalize their stuff. And my Aliens built Earth guitar, look at it. Dude, that's cool, right? The Alien Stratocaster and things. I don't care what people think, and there's a message there. And
will you be playing your guitar at the conference there in Las Vegas?
Do you want me to? I will if you show up. If you show up, I'll serenade you. Let's take our break. Our guest tonight, Ruben Uriarte, is with us. Tonight, it's all UFOs all night long. Ruben, you stay right there. We'll be right back after this short break. This is Jimmy Church of Fade to Black. Please visit all of our sponsors. We're taking a quick break here. All of the links are below. We'll be right back. Join us November 10th, 11th, and 12th, 2023, live at the Luxor Hotel and Casino on the Las Vegas Strip, as Disclosure Fest Foundation and Fade to Black Radio presents Stairway to the Stars, a Human Origins Science and Technology Expo. With live talks, lectures, and workshops by world-acclaimed researchers and authors, featuring topics like human origins, ancient technologies, indigenous teachings, workshops, a mass meditation, yoga and sound healing, music, and so much more. This is Jimmy Church, by the way, and I'll be your host all weekend long. Don't miss our intimate sky watch and meteor shower over the infamous Area 51 airspace in Rachel, Nevada, with special surprise celebrity hosts guiding us through the night. This event will sell out. For more information and tickets, please visit disclosurefest.org. Hi, everybody. Jimmy Church here. Very special announcement, and that is we are shipping Fade to Black t-shirts again. It's been almost 2 years. We did a full upgrade to the website, so you can head over to jimmychurchradio.com. It's all simple to do, and it's right there. Remember, we broadcast 4 nights a week, Monday through Thursday. We bring you the best, the brightest, the most knowledgeable and amazing guests, the best conversations. We do that 4 nights a week. We also do 4 days a week. We broadcast the news, and we do that live too as well. It's not a one-man show. I do it with website support. I do it with producers. I do it with writers and artists. All contribute to the show. The best way to help support what we do here is with the Fade to Black t-shirt. And you can get your Fade to Black t-shirt one of 2 ways. First, go to jimmychurchradio.com, order a shirt. It's really that simple. You're going to get a tracking number, it's going to get shipped, and it's going to get autographed. The second way to get a shirt is with a Game Changer membership. Now, the Game Changer membership not only includes a free t-shirt, but you get a private email to me. You get unlimited commercial-free downloads. You have full access to the website, and everything includes free shipping, and everything is autographed. So help support the show. Get your Fade to Black t-shirt today. The links are below. You can just go to jimmychurchradio.com, and it's right on the website. So there you go. I'm Jimmy Church, Fade to Black. I'm so excited that I just have one thing to say. Go Backley Tappy.
This is Robert Clotworthy, the narrator of your favorite television show, Ancient Aliens. And I want to remind everyone that November 10th, 11th, and 12th at the Luxor Hotel in Las Vegas, Nevada, Disclosure Fest is happening. Yes, Stairway to the Stars. And guess what? I'm going to be part of an Ancient Aliens panel. I will be sharing the stage with the biggest stars of Ancient Aliens: Nick Pope, David Childress, Jason Martell, William Henry, all hosted by Jimmy Church. Is it possible that this will be the most amazing convention ever? Could it be that if you don't get your tickets, you'll regret it? Ancient astronaut theorists say yes. See you in Vegas.
River Moon Coffee, makers of the Fade to Black blend. Truly the best coffee on planet Earth. Just visit rivermoonwellness.com or their Amazon store. It's all simple to do. You can check out the Fade to Black blend, the Game Changer blend, or any of their Black Moon Wellness products. It's the only coffee I drink. It is the best, and it's Doc. Again, rivermoonwellness.com. All right. Welcome back, Fade to Black. I am your host, Jimmy Church. Tonight, Ruben Uriarte is with us. It's all UFOs all night long. And I'm just going to get straight back to it. Ruben, I'm going to tell you something crazy. Two of the most amazing sightings that I have had were both with Steve Murillo.
Oh, wow.
That dude is a UFO magnet. And I'm just going to share one of these. We were I had a cabin. I had this situation out in the middle of the desert, right? And it's a thing, and threw a little bit of a party, and I had like, I don't know, 20 people, 30 people, stack of pizzas, some good tequila, stuff like that. And Steve was there. Alex Mistretta, Alex was there. And Wolf McCarran, our good friend Wolf, everybody knows Wolf. And so anyway, we're standing out on the patio, and it's pretty late. It's like 11 o'clock at night, and just doing our thing. And I happen to be facing the right direction when this goes down. And Murillo says, he's standing next to me right there, and he goes, "Man, wouldn't it be cool if we just saw a UFO right now?" And it's like that, out in the middle of the desert, right in front of us, this white orb takes off from the ground and goes straight up. And it lasted about 1 second. No flames, nothing, just a white ball, and it just gone into the stars and disappeared. And we were like, no way. And that's Steve Murillo. And I just, and a couple of, I've got a film clip. I won't play it, but I've got a clip. It's in the middle of the day, and we have this amazing sighting. And who's sitting next to me? There's like 30 of us. We're all outside when this thing happens. Steve Murillo sitting right next to me. And you can hear Steve. He's got that, that distinctive voice of his, describing what we're all seeing in the video clip. And it's such an honor and a privilege for me to have, my good friend Steve standing next to me, because something crazy is going to happen. He is just, I don't understand it, and he's such, the way that I describe him, he's a businessman, right? Yeah. Graduated from the Naval Academy, right? As a pilot, goes into the Marine Corps. He's a Marine Corps fighter pilot, comes out, starts a successful business here. And he's a business guy. You would look at him and you see business all over him, right? That's what he looks like. And he's a UFO magnet. It's like the craziest thing about Steve Murillo. I just wanted to say that because he's a mutual friend of ours. And
he's a great guy.
Yeah, great guy. And Been at the right place at the right time with that guy, and we managed to see something nutty. It's just crazy.
It's that there's something I wanted to share with you. You're talking about your up and coming conference, and I had the privilege of picking up a lot of these uh, researchers to our conferences, and particularly when I was working with Noe Torres, we had the border zone conferences where we had in little hole in the wall little communities where like Presidio, Texas, or Edinburgh. Well, Edinburgh's a larger city. Um, Laredo, Del Rio, all these interesting little towns where we had UFO sightings that had occurred over the years, and then some of it we wrote about in our books. And my job was to go and go pick up Stan Friedman, for example, at the airport in San Antonio, and then drive him to Del Rio, and that was like a 3-hour ride one way. And it was like having my own conference because they would talk and share what they're doing, and it was like, man, it doesn't get any better than this. It's being a private driver, but listening to all this. So I did that with Nick Pope, Travis Walton, Salas, and a
Robert
number of other.
Salas. Yeah.
Yes, a great guy. I mean, man, a number of these people. Travis Walton was really interesting because I thought, well, I got to go pick him up at El Paso and then drive to Presidio, and that's like a 4.5 hour drive. And I kept thinking, man, what am I going to do? How am I going to entertain him? And I didn't have to say anything. Travis just started talking and sharing things, and it was like, wow, it was like, like getting the presentation and from there in the vehicle. And Nick Pope, I got to share a real quick story when I picked him up at the airport, and then also George Norrie, by the way, and Tom Danheiser. I picked them up, and we would drive, and that was really interesting. But going back to Nick, we were heading toward Laredo, no, Del Rio, Texas, and it was getting dark, and then all of a sudden I looked behind my mirror, and I saw this police officer, with the lights, and then I pulled over, and he said, "What are you doing here?" And he was a young guy, and I read into this SUV, but the windshield and the windows were tinted dark, a lot darker. And he said, "You didn't have your lights on." I thought, "Oh, I don't know how It says I don't know how to drive this vehicle." And he said, "Oh, where are you guys going?" And I said, "We're going to a UFO conference." And he looked at me, and he kept staring at me. He says, "You're going to a UFO conference?" I says, "Yeah, this gentleman here is from England. He's going to be talking, da da da. And I'm here, and I'm just assisting, and also be talking at the conference." And I said, "Would you like to go?" I invited him. Well, then he said, "I want to tell you something." He says, "My mother, who lived in Mexico, told me that when she was a lot younger, a UFO had landed right near her home, and she always talked about that." And so I thought, "Oh, that's interesting." And so he says, "Look, I'll let you go," and he gave me one of those warning tickets or whatever, but I didn't have to pay a fine or anything. So on our way back after the conference, we hit a border patrol station, and a big line of cars and everything. And then we pull up, and then they asked us, "Are you United States citizens?" And I said, "Well, I am." And then Nick says, "No, I'm not. I'm from the UK." And then the border patrol agents over there, he says, "Well, where are you guys coming from?" He says, "Oh, we spoke at a UFO conference." And their eyes lit up, and it said, "Man, we have been having some strange lights flying around here the last several days." And they began talking to us about what they saw. In the meantime, I had this huge long line of cars behind me piling up. And then and I said, do you think we should get going? He said, oh yeah, go ahead, go. So we had to leave, but it was just interesting, the interest, and also the fact that how this conversation pops up, and especially that was my interest in police reactions, or their experience and encounters with UFOs. And here we're driving, and it pretty much we get this interesting reaction. So that
Law enforcement here, I'll tell you something funny about this is that a lot of them are, night patrol and cruiser. And what are they doing? They're listening to Coast to Coast.
yeah,
And truckers, right? But late night when and especially back in the day when before Sirius XM or something like that, where that was it. It was Coast to Coast, and I got pulled over by the highway patrol a couple of years ago, and I was speeding. Okay, I'm in my Jeep. My Jeep has fade to black license plates on it, and younger highway patrol guy. I want to say he was in his 20s. Looked too young to be a highway patrol, but anyway. So he comes up and asks for my stuff, and it goes back to his car, and he comes back, and on All That I Love, this is what he says. He hands me, and I was doing like 80 and a 55. Straight up, probably faster. And he hands me my stuff, and he goes, I just want to thank you, man. I'm out here all night long listening to Coast. I went, what? No, stop right there, just stop. And he goes, and I run the tags, and Fade to Black and Jimmy Church, and I go, no, you're messing with me right now. And he goes, no, man. So I want to thank you. I go, I got T-shirts in the back. You want one? Yeah. So I go to the back of my Jeep on the side of the highway, man, on the 101, trying to get autograph to the highway patrol. And
oh, cool.
Yeah. It was absolutely, he completely caught me by surprise. No, it's only happened once. But that's what they do. They're listening to this stuff at night, and they also see the crazy stuff at night. Yeah. And I think they're right there. I did have, you're my guest, but I'll share this. A member of our family passed away. Sorry. And so, anyway, so we get the call, and we go over, this is in a retirement home, and he's passed in bed, right? Okay, so anyway, so we go in, and we call the police, and the police tell us, we'll eventually get there, but you must stay with the body. I was like, wait, I gotta what? So anyway, I'm sitting there, and the police eventually show up, and we're waiting for the coroner and stuff. Natural, it's nothing was a big deal, but there's an official process that has to happen. And so I'm sitting there, and then the sergeant or whatever, he tells the younger cop, okay, you stay here with Mr. Church. I've got some other stuff I've got to do. I'll hit you back, kind of thing. He splits. So now it's just me and this LAPD guy sitting at the I've got a body right here in a bed. It's a one room. It was bizarre, to say the least. Anyway, so we're sitting there, and I go, all right, what do you do as a cop if a UFO lands on the street? Is there protocol? Yeah. Is there training? He goes, what are you talking about? I said, aliens, ET, flying saucer, lands right there on Sherman Way, the big street, right in front of it. And what do you do? And he goes, we haven't had any training for that. I said, no talk about UFOs at all, or aliens, or, in case of an emergency? No, nothing in the police academy, nothing at all. I go, well, what would you do? He goes, man, I would call somebody else. I
Yeah.
wouldn't know what to do. And I thought that was very, very interesting. That there is apparently, maybe there is now. This was 5 years ago, but absolutely no mention, according to him. And you could tell by his age that the police academy wasn't that far in his rearview mirror. That there was no UFO or ET or alien contact protocol.
It,
Yeah.
what's interesting, what coincidentally, Jimmy, I recently joined the UAP Medical Coalition, and they basically are forming to write protocols or develop policies for mental health professionals as well as for physicians dealing with injuries that someone may have received from an encounter with a UFO, etc. But I'm also sit on a subcommittee for police and first-time responders, and I'm so we're in the process of developing those policies and to be able to present it to where the police forces throughout the country will have at least something standard. At least that's our goal, and we've been meeting and then that's been something of interest for me because professionally I used to work in healthcare administration. I worked at hospitals, and I was in charge of the safety, environmental health and safety. When I worked for Kaiser Permanente, I was also in charge of the disaster preparedness programs. You know, the hospitals have to be ready to deal with emergencies of all types. And getting that exposure of training and that I had has really helped me to look at developing plans and protocols. So getting back to the police, yeah, I mean, there are so many interesting cases of hundreds of cases of UFO encounters, of police engaging with UFOs. One of the interesting cases that I came across was this happened in Mexico, Jimmy. On the February the 15th or 15th of year 2000, there was a UFO that flew very low down one of the most populated parts of Mexico City, and these particular patrols units saw this disc object hovering down the boulevard, and it landed right on a soccer field at a school site. It was some sort of vocational college, and this object landed right there, or right in the middle of the soccer field. Well, the police they were having problems with their radios. They couldn't communicate at first. Some of them, their watches would freeze at 2:20 in the morning. This is when the event, and it was frozen on their watches. So the media really picked up on the event, and they really gave it very interesting. You know, there was no fun. It was just due to the fact that they went and described exactly what happened with these police officers. Well, what happened was they were trying to get access to go into the soccer field area, and they talked to one of the security guards. It was a lady who worked at a booth, and they contacted her and they said, "Hey, by any chance, do you see a disc, an object on your field? Can you see it?" Well, the security guard thought, "Who are these guys? They must be drinking. Why would they be asking me to look at a UFO, looking for a UFO?" So she said, "Okay, I'll be right back." And she went out, looked over the ledge, and she saw this disc object right there, and she saw this being that was outside, and the being was covering its eyes from the glare of all the lights. And then she looked at the being, and she noticed that this thing looked like it had scales like that of a reptile or dinosaur. That's how she described it. So then the object, the being got back into the craft and zoomed away. And because it interacted with a number of police agencies, and it was really one of those unique cases, it got a lot of publicity all over Mexico. Well, we don't hear about that, of course, here, but this is something that's being confronted by police in rural areas as well as you know in metropolitan areas as well. So there's
Well,
a
yeah, well, we can't ignore the basic facts, the fundamental facts when it comes to law enforcement
yeah,
at night or even during the day, right? But at night, where are we? In a general sense, we're at home, watching television, eating food. We're indoors. The police are out patrolling the streets. They're out walking the streets and driving. And so they're out and they have a much higher percentage rate of running in or seeing something. And they're also receiving the phone calls.
exactly.
Right. And so, yeah, absolutely. The interaction with law enforcement and ET, and when they do have something to say about a sighting, we need to stop and listen. Look at, the cases like, St. Louis, that, the Black Triangle case out there, Stephenville, Texas, right? These are right where this is law. And these aren't the only isolated cases. It happens over and over again. And they are professional witnesses. That's it. And we should stop and listen if they have a sighting like that. And talk about putting your career on the line.
Yeah,
Right. That's the other part of this. So if a police officer comes forward with something like that, there's so much stuff that they do hold back. Career suicide thing. Right. We talk about it all the time. And if they're going to cross that line, the UFO line, you need to stop and pay attention for sure. I wanted to ask you. About Noe for a second. And before we get there, we just had, the United States Congress and David Grush, but we just had this presentation by Jaime Maussan in Mexico, which I covered live. I did the
you did a great job. You and Christina were outstanding.
Oh, you caught that? Okay,
Oh yeah, you guys were phenomenal.
That was that was a lot of fun. And now, what I didn't expect to happen did happen. Right? He rolls out the Peruvian mummies and starts discussing this, caught everybody by surprise, including myself. And I'm sure that the members of the Congress there, I can only imagine what was going, alien bodies on the stage with evidence, and the medical director of the Navy going on the record. What did you make of that? Do you think, I know that you said that Christina and I were effective. Do you think Jaime was effective?
Effective?
Yes.
Yes. When when he presented the mummies or whatever, what they called them, obviously you could see the reaction from different people, and what really impressed me was the the naval surgeon and some of the people that were involved, that have actually evaluated the mummy. There was a lot of information there, and what Malsan basically said is that, hey, if you have any doubts, come and check our results and give me, and make your opinion on that. Unfortunately, I think the whole focus of the mummies kind of overshadowed, I believe, some of the testimony by the number of the presenters that were there. I thought everyone had some great information that they were providing. The thing that I kind of wish they would have had is instantaneous translation. In other words, when the Spanish speakers were talking, that you would immediately get the translation for for those folks that are tuning in from the United States immediately so what I'm hoping that maybe one of these days that they'll be able to improve that whole the language communication. There were some, there were some issues that when the Japanese gentleman was talking, for example, and it took a while until they got a translator in that. I've actually had my own experience. I want to share with you dealing with these humanoids, and then it goes back to. Do you remember the skull child,
The Star
Star
Child,
Child skull?
of course.
And you recall that the Lloyd Pye was the manager, and basically he was claiming, based on some DNA tests, that the skull was not of human origin; it was extraterrestrial. And this went on, and until he passed away, Melanie Young and her husband Ray, they had the skull retested. And of course, DNA and all the testing, from what I understand, has gotten a lot more sophisticated than 20 years ago. And they had the skull tested, and then again, they found that the skull was of human origin, and that it was a 5-year-old child that had some sort of a disease that caused the skull to,
Deform.
misshape,
Yeah.
malform. Yeah.
hmm
So where I got involved in this was Melanie wanted to send the child back to Mexico, and I was able to connect with my friends who were also UFO investigators that worked for the government in Chihuahua, and they were able to help us connect with the the National Institute of Anthropology and History in Mexico, and they accepted the offer of repatriating the child back to Mexico. So through arrangements with Melanie and her husband, they were able to go to a facility there in Juarez, and they were able to bring the remains of the child to the museum, and then from there, now the child is on display, I believe, at one of the museums, and so that told me, I learned from, when you're testing, you may get a different result down the road depending on who's conducting the test. So it'll be interesting to see where this all lands, and I'm trying to keep an open mind.
Well,
Maybe.
it's the point to all of that, not only with the Peruvian mummies, the Star Child skull, or anything else that is anomalous that we have questions about. You have multiple testing facilities test from the same set of tissue and get their results, and then look at the averages. Now, you may get 3 identical results back. You might get 2 that are close and 1 that is a little bit different, or whatever. But you have a baseline to go off of. That's the correct way to do it. 1 in the United States, 1 in Mexico, 1 in Russia, 1 in the United Kingdom, 1 in Canada, whatever. But go out and get things done that way. With the Peruvian mummies, this has now been done multiple times. And now there are different sites in Peru. You have Nazca, and then you also have Cusco. So we have 2 different sites where these mummies have come from. And when we go back to the original, the mummy that kicked all of this off, she was named Maria. And Maria was the big full-size one that was in the fetal position, and she had the big 3, the 3 fingers, and she was full size. I think she was fully extended. I think she was 5'10", something like that. Where these other mummies, they're 60 centimeters, right? They're like this big. But Maria, she was tested in the United States. She was tested in Russia and Canada. I think those were the 3 labs. All came back with that same 30%, right in there, 29%, 30%, 25%, this number of unknown origins. And that's a crazy number. Now, that was done almost 5 years ago. That was 2017, almost 6 years ago. This is 2023. Fast forward to today, and the same testing was done on the smaller mummies. 2 of those mummies, and Maria, the small mummies, ended up at the university in Lima, Peru. Those are the two small mummies are from that university. The university doesn't know how, and Jaime's not talking, how Jaime got them out of Peru and into Mexico City for that presentation. But prior to that, they did the tissue samples, and they also came back with this 30% number of unknown, which is very, 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 very strange. And since then, they have been retested. I'm not saying it's alien, it's ET. I'm saying that we need multiple sets of eyes on this. We need as many anthropologists on this. All of the forensic experts that we have that know what they're looking at with tissue and tissue samples. And that includes carbon dating, that includes CT scans, and MRIs, X-rays, every way that we can to look inside, outside of these mummies and get some answers. The Navy comes out after the presentation. I don't know if you caught this, but the Navy, the head surgeon from the Mexican Navy comes out and says, okay, we've re-examined, and I've got another part to this story too, as well, a little personal part that I'll mention here in a second. So he comes out, and they show a video. They're now doing another fresh CT scans, right? And he comes out and he says, I can definitively say that these 2 beings are whole and intact and were not assembled. He also says that they had retractable necks.
Wow.
Right? Now, it's like, let's stop right there. What are we really saying here? That's big stuff coming from the government of Mexico, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about the head surgeon of medicine of the Mexican Navy. That's a pretty bold thing. Now, with all of that, the video that they showed had 4 people in it, all wearing scrubs and face masks. All right. One of the 4 is going to be at my conference at Stairway to the Stars in Las Vegas.
Wow.
Now, I am going to say there is a possibility of body parts. Okay. Now, if this is, so he's going to do a presentation, and he is going to reveal for the first time the latest testing and results that have come back. So anybody listening to me right now, if you want to be not only up close and personal, but speak and listen and check out a presentation from one of the 4 when they did the re-release of this from the Mexican Navy, that's standing there as they're doing the CT scan, he's going to be at Stairway to the Stars.
Wow.
And now I am very anxious to see, again, I constantly say it's an honor and a privilege, but for myself and my partner, Adrian, to be put in a position where we can hopefully provide some answers to a very big question. We're going to be doing that November 10th, 11th, and 12th in Las Vegas. And if you want to check it out, we're doing so much at this conference, and you just need to be there, and you need to see what's really going on. I can't reveal any more than that because I think everybody can use their imagination here. We're dancing on the very edge of international law.
Exactly.
But I think we're in the clear on it. But I'm a little nervous. But I cannot wait to see this evidence for myself in
Are you
person.
are you aware they're having another congressional hearing in Mexico on November 7th?
Yeah, I heard about that. Yes.
And then Malsan mentioned that he has another surprise.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah, yep, 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 yep. You see, now this is I like Jaime. I do, and Jaime, he's an enigma. All right, he's an enigma. You meet Jaime in person, and the dude is down. He's cool. He
yeah,
is the cool side of the pillow. That man is on ice. He's funny. He's personable. He's friendly. He's cool. He's just good. You want to hang out with the guy. That's what you want to do, man. You just want to just have some margaritas and just sit and just enjoy his company. He's a great guy. And then there's the enigma part where he stumbled so much, right? And I equate that. People want to look at the bad side or the bad things that have happened. But we have to remember in Jaime's position that he has got tens of thousands of people contacting him throughout the year. He's one of the most popular television personalities, just happens to be UFOs, in all of Mexico and Central America. The dude is a rock star. So he's got all this information coming at him, all of it from all sides. And he's, people are putting it on him to be judge and jury on every single thing. It's impossible to do that. So out of tens of thousands of things that are sent to him, artifacts, photographs, videos, evidence, eyewitness testimony, all of this stuff coming at him, there are going to be some things that are bullshit. That's it, right? I'm just calling it the way that it is. But Jaime is sometimes too quick to bring it out. And then if it goes wrong, it goes wrong bad. And it goes bad publicly because he's such a visible figure. That's why this thing in Mexico, Ruben, I was like, dude, you are rolling the dice on this one. In front of Congress. Yeah, Jaime, this is the one where you don't want to slip and fall in the hallway. Yeah, not this time. And it looks like he's pretty solid on this one. So we just need more testing and as many people as possible, universities, laboratories, independent around the world to get these tissue samples. And I know it's a mummy. It was a living creature at one time, but man, this thing's got to get cut up and tested.
Yeah, I know Jaime. I met him many years ago, and also I helped volunteer in a number of his conferences. And what always amazed me was he could pack it in. I mean, we had 2 shows there in Fresno, and each show had at least 2,000 people. And it just amazed me. It was amazing seeing the amount of people that would come to his events. But what I understand, and so far, I haven't gotten the agenda yet or whatever. But well, from what I understand, they're going to be focusing more on regulations and that on the UAP, but possibly there might be wanting to become more transparent, at least through the Mexican government on particular cases, because their goal is to educate the community, educate the public of what's going on, and so we'll see what happens. I'm real curious. And also mentioned that these Peruvian officials are going to be there, and maybe they'll share their side.
Oh, they're pissed. They're pissed. They're pissed. Can you imagine? Right. So you're the president of the university in Lima. You're watching this presentation in Mexico City, right? Live on TV. And then Jaime rolls out your mummies. And you just turn around, hey, see if those are downstairs. Right? Are those ours? Comes back, they're gone. That's where they're at, right? They were talking about pressing charges, and I could totally get that. I don't Jaime. Oh my goodness gracious. I couldn't believe he did that. And it was the one with the breastplate, man. And I'm intimately involved with this way before they were presented to the public. I've been involved with this for a very, very long time. And I just couldn't, Ruben, I'm being very serious here. I've been burned a lot. So when I get stuff and I get, pictures and I get the full story and I get the videos, I'm like, man, it's interesting, but I'm not going to be the guy. Let somebody else go first. Then I'll report on it. Let somebody else, and that was the case with the mummies. And I got a few emails after the presentation from a few different individuals down in Peru, going, man, we've been trying to, you've been ignoring us. And it's not that I've been ignoring you. I need somebody else. I'll report on the story. I don't want to be the one revealing it. Right. I don't want to be that cat. But with back to Jaime, I do this event with him. It was just like what you're saying, right? A couple thousand people. And I introduced him, and then I went out, I decided to watch, which I don't normally do. I'm busy. I don't sit through everybody's 2-hour presentation. I can't do that, right? But anyway, with Jaime, I was like, I'm going to do this. So I went out. I sat in the back and watched he was doing video. The greatest UFO videos in the history of the world. That's his presentation, and I got to tell you, it was riveting.
Yeah.
Right. It was 2 hours of stuff I have never seen.
Right.
And a lot of it was pretty incredible. But like I said, he's got everybody sending him the stuff from all around the country. So he has got access to a lot of stuff. And man, it was a good presentation. Man, it was just good. It was good. So we'll see where this goes. How did you meet Noe?
Oh, it's really interesting. History Channel had contacted me, and they wanted to do a special on UFO activity in Mexico. And at that time, I was a liaison with MUFON with a group that was forming called MIFO, which was the Organization of Mexican Investigators. And so the History Channel contacted me, and then they said, well, connect us. And so they flew down there. They interviewed a number of contacts that I had given them. And then they came back and said, we're changing the format. We're going to be doing UFO crashes. We're going to do one about Mexico, one in Russia, one in Brazil, da da da. So History Channel was coming up with a series of UFO crashes in these different countries. And then the producer wanted to find somebody that could introduce the whole Mexican case. And so we contacted a few people, but no one really responded. So the producer said, hey, why don't you do it? Why don't you introduce the case of the Koyama case? And I
okay.
Oh, okay. And I read about the Koyama case in one of the books. The author, give me a moment. But anyway, I read about it and got familiar with it, and so we did the production. It came out on History Channel, and it just so happened that Noe was watching it, and then Noe contacted me and said, hey, I've been interested in doing a book on crash retrievals, especially along the Mexican-Texas border. And he asked me, hey, what was my role and my involvement? And I told him, and he said, hey, how would you like to get together with me and let's do a book on this case? So that's what we did. I mean, that changed my life, actually. I mean, remember I shared with you about me going on these tours and being connected. This was another one of those synchronistic events where he had asked me to participate with him on the research, and lo and behold, we found out that there were a number of other crash retrievals that had occurred along the Texas-U.S. border. And so we did the Roswell, the Mexico's Roswell, the Coyame case, and that's been really interesting, Jimmy. We had to limit our involvement of traveling because at that time there was the drug war that was getting pretty bad in Mexico, and there were warnings for U.S. citizens not to travel. And when we traveled, a real quick story. Bill Burns did in the UFO Hunters. They did a whole thing on Coyame and and about Mexico, and so they had us go with them, and we traveled on a bus, and all the way took it like we did a 24-hour bus drive from the northern part of Mexico. We investigated a couple of other crash retrieval cases. When we got to Coyame, we had to get out, and there was all these military. There was all these military guys around the bus. So we got out, and the film crew, they thought it was really cool. And they weren't expecting this. Neither was I. But when I looked around, there was a 50 caliber machine gun aiming right at us. So I told Bill, I said, Bill, don't tell these guys to cool it. Don't tell them not to make any fun of these people, because we got a gun. We got a machine gun aiming at us right now. Well, he looked at me and he saw how big my eyes were, and he told the guys to pipe down. And then later we were traveling on another side of the road, and we got stopped by military personnel. Again, they asked us questions while we were there, what we were doing. And then Bill says, "Oh, we have a friend named Jaime Maussan." "Oh, yeah, we watch Jaime Maussan." So they allowed us to go through there. But then I realized, this is not smart for us to travel any further. We need to pull back. So we had to rely on information from our contacts, from other Mexican investigators about Coyame. I got to tell you this is hot off the press that happened today. In our third book that we did on the Coyame case, there's a gentleman, a witness, who is a police officer. He retired from the LAPD. But when he was a younger man, him and his family would go and visit Coyame and visit his grandparents and and that. So the gentleman's name is Tony Ramirez, and Tony was riding his uncle's horse, and it was getting late, and so he dismounted and he was brushing the animal and everything, and then he heard a noise from across the road. There was a cornfield, and he looked and he thought, "What's this strange animal coming toward me?" And he kept looking, and he noticed that it was a small being with a big head, and that it had red eyes, and it had almost on its forehead like bones structures, or it was protruding. And that frightened him, and he ran back, and he told his grandparents what he saw, and his uncles, and his dad was there, and then his grandmother said, "Oh, you must have saw the diablitos and the little devils." So again, the red eyes with the protrusions and that in the forehead, and so he saw the Brazilian Roswell crash, or their version of it. It turned out to be the Varginha case of the beings that they retrieved. Again, and he said that's exactly what I saw in Coyame. The same description.
Really, as the Varginha case in Brazil.
Exactly.
The
So,
three girls saw in the empty lot.
and today, my friend Victor Camacho, who I believe you probably have met, Victor.
I know Victor. Yeah, a great
So,
guy.
he has a radio show called Los Desvelados.
Well,
He,
he calls himself the Jimmy Church of Mexico. That's why I love Victor's a cool dude, man.
he's
That
a cool
guy,
dude, great
yeah,
guy.
yeah,
He
great guy.
he sent me his latest interview of a man that called him up. He called Victor, and this man said that about 25 years ago he had a conversation with a gentleman who lived in Koyame, and he had to move out of Koyame because his wife and him were very frightened by these beings. They were, he called them ojitos, or ones with eyes, and he described them as having this laser reddish eyes, and again the protrusions of on the forehead of these creatures. So what I'm saying is there might be this possible connection, Jimmy, between Koyame and the sightings of these beings with what's been happening in Brazil. These particular species of beings are who knows where they are being reported, other than, but it's happening there in the border. They're in Mexico,
Mhm.
and of course we'll do more research. My friend the gentleman that helped me repatriate the Star Child skull, he has the UFO organization, and they've been doing a number of interviews with people, and says the abductions have gone up in that area. So he'll be keeping me appraised of what's going on. But it's an interesting connection. Uh, I think that's what I find in doing this work is I look at patterns, if there's connections, and putting together the pieces like a puzzle, just putting it together.
Can I ask you, we're almost at the end of the show, but so one last quick run at this. The artifacts that are coming out of Mexico now, by the thousands, they're for sale on eBay. You can buy them everywhere. And I have held over the last 10 years, I've held hundreds and hundreds of them, and I've looked at them really close. Some are very fascinating. Some I go, okay, not so much. But what do you make of this? And I've watched some pretty crazy video, and I've had personal friends of mine go down and do some digging and finding stuff. I'm perplexed. I don't know what to do with this. I think some are obvious. No, I firmly believe as fact that a lot of this is just hoaxed, but some of it is not. What do you think is really going on?
I think when I had the opportunity to hold these stones and also to
We
talk to
did it
people about
together
it.
too, didn't we? Did we do it together somewhere? Weren't you and I in a hotel room?
Oh, there was some gentleman that was he an
Yeah,
American that brought the
I mean, you and
stones?
I remember you and and I think Richard Dolan was there.
Oh,
And you were there. Oh, Victor Camacho was there.
yeah, Victor had a whole collection of these
Yeah,
stones.
yeah. That was a long time ago, but yeah. So I remember that was one of the first times that I had been
I
in the presence of these. But anyway, ultimately what do you think is happening?
I was thinking. My feelings was back then it wasn't that well known yet. Um, he was collecting these stones, and there were certain other people. But I kept thinking, when does this commercialization starts to happen? Who's behind it? The artists, the people that are making these objects. And if the market is there now, I mean, then that it kind of dilutes the research, because you're having these hoax items being sold as supposedly it's official, they're from the Mexican government. Yeah, that's a whole other topic right there. Is um, a lot of these agencies are reluctant to claim what if anything, if these are real artifacts, because of the stigma behind
The subject matter.
the subject
Yeah.
matter. Yes, and that's why you may not get as many any archaeologists, anthropologists looking into this. Maybe it may change as a stigma is starting to go down, and let's see what happens with further research. So I would say that it's still up in the air.
Well, some of it is real. I mean, I was sent. Man, I don't want to say where it came from. I can't do that. Can't do that. But I don't want to sound like I am putting the stamp of approval on something. But I got sent a video that was pretty damn crazy, and it's a group, maybe a dozen men in a cave covered in mud, digging, and deep, by the way, and they're uncovering something. It's this object, and it's quite large. Okay.
Oh, I saw something similar. Victor did a DVD on Forbidden Archaeology. Was the title?
Was it okay? So was it the throne, the one that's about the size of a washing machine?
I'm trying to recall.
Okay, well,
I
okay,
remember it was gold. They found
no,
gold.
okay, this was like pink granite, marble.
Oh, wow.
So
Wow.
anyway, so they're digging, and it's this square object, and eventually they tie ropes around it. They get the ropes out of the cave, tie those to the back of a pickup truck. This pickup truck is spinning its wheels. They pull this thing out of the ground, all on camera. Then they drag it out of the cave. They get it out of the cave. It's covered in mud. It's brown, and clay mud. You know what I mean? It wasn't dusty. It was like thick stuff on. Anyway, so they get it out of the ground and they start pouring water on it, and slowly you see it's this body, king of some sort or whatever, sitting in a throne with his arms on the armrest, and the throne is square. It's ginormous. This thing has got to weigh a couple of tons, and so they lift this thing up. A bunch of guys. They get this thing in the back of the pickup truck. They drive to town. They get to town. They get it back off the truck. It's in the middle of the street, and they're hosing it down with freaking water hoses, and they clean all the mud off of it. And there it is. So it's a human, right? But on the feet of the chair are two alien faces, clear as day. Clear as day. And then the camera is looking at the carving, and there was crazy stuff on it. Crazy. And now I'm scratching my head on this one going, why, if you're going to hoax something, are you going to hoax a 2-ton granite block and bury it in a cave and then unbury it and then put it in the back of a pickup, and drag it into town? That's a lot of stunt work for something.
Yeah.
Here's the other part. I never heard anything else about it. I haven't seen it on TV. I haven't seen it in a documentary. I haven't seen it on the front page of the Inquirer. I haven't seen Jaime Maussan, parade this through the street. No, it's just like it's disappeared. And this thing was beautiful. Big, dude. I'm just like ginormous. Like one of the blocks from the Great Pyramid. It was like that. It was that big and ornate and beautiful. And you could see the cracks in it. So, I'm not saying it was aliens. But it was aliens, and it was amazing to see. So that's where you just got to sit back and go, dude. I don't know what to think. I don't, if you're going to hoax something, there's easier ways to get it done. I would think, you pull another stunt, do something small, but it was just huge, and who knows where it is today. Ruben, what's up next for you? What are you doing?
Just still finishing up on some investigations. I'm the national director for Mexico as well as Cuba, and so I have some contacts there. And um, this other book that Noe and I had worked on called UFOs over Mexico, um, Encounters of the Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon. And it's all about pilot sightings in Latin America and Mexico. And there are some really interesting cases. And so I've been developing more of a network with the Mexican aviation uh, community. And there are a couple of other projects I've been working on. I've been keeping busy.
Just keep in touch, and not only when the next book comes out and everything else, but Noe is amazing.
Yes, yes.
And hopefully, I would love for you to make it out to Las Vegas and come hang out with us, and maybe I'll have some 3-fingered things for you to look at,
awesome,
up close and personal. Okay.
Thank you very much for the invitation.
You're the best, Ruben. I miss you, man. I miss you. And if you talk to Victor, tell him to reach out. Okay. He's got my stuff. He's got my digits. All right.
Very good.
Thank you, Ruben. Behave and be well. The absolute very best. All of Ruben's links are below, and you can reach out and follow everything that he is doing. Where am I at tomorrow night? What's going on Fade to Black tomorrow night? Does anybody know? Tomorrow night. Oh, Johnny Enoch is with us tomorrow night. So Johnny Enoch is here. We're going to be talking about Egypt and time, or time and Egypt. That's what we are doing tomorrow. You're not going to want to miss that. Johnny Enoch is with us. Fade to Black is produced by Hill J. Palm, Renee Newman, and Michelle Freed. Webmaster is Drew the Geek. Want to thank Genocide. I want to thank Zenzabil. Music, Doug Aldrich. Intro, Spaceboy, spaceboymusic.com. Fade to Black is produced by the Game Changer Network, and it is copyrighted 2023 by Fade to Black and the Game Changer Network, Inc. It cannot be copied, downloaded, distributed anywhere in the known universe without written permission from Fade to Black of the Game Changer Network. I'm your host, Jimmy Church. Until tomorrow night with Johnny Enoch, I'm just going to say it right now. Go back, Lee Tappy.